What's up, family? It is Caden with Urban Finance. Today we're going to be talking about Barack Obama's book, A Promised Land. And I must admit, I was completely impressed by this book. Now, I have never read before a presidential memoir, and if I am being completely honest, one of the only reasons that I probably read this book is because Barack Obama looks like me. No, not literally looks like me, but looks like me. You know what I mean? But it has been one of the most informative books on American politics that I felt I have read. At least that has given me a wide view of American politics. And I certainly think that Barack Obama has his own agenda for writing the book, and I'll talk about that as well in this review or this discussion. But if you have any questions throughout it on things that you thought about in the book while you read the book, if you had the chance, let me know in the comment section below. And if you have any thoughts based on what I said, based on what I choose to highlight from the book, let me know in the comment section below. Like I said, it's not going to be a thorough analysis of the book because it is a huge book and that will take hours upon hours. Maybe I'll do a live stream about that. But let's continue the conversation in the comment section. I'll make sure to respond to every comment, even those that I don't like. But if you haven't already, go ahead and smash the like button for me. It really helps out the channel. Subscribe to the page and hit the bell to be notified of when I post something new. And so I'll be breaking down this conversation in segments that has nothing to do with the actual book titles, but the topics that I would like to talk about. The first topic that I think is relevant here is the topic of who is good in the book. And this is where I got it. At the start of the book, Barack Obama talked about a situation when he was a little child, when his mom found out that him and his friends bullied someone at school. And this is what the mom told him. "You know, Barry, there are people in the world who think only about themselves. They don't care what happens to other people so long as they get what they want. They put other people down to make themselves feel important. Then there are people who do the opposite, who are able to imagine how others must feel and make sure that they don't do things that hurt people." So she said, looking me squarely in my eyes, "Which kind of person do you want to be?" As you read the book, and if you really pay attention to it, you will know that this is pretty much one of the guiding themes throughout a lot of Barack's interactions and how he makes his decisions. Really trying to live up to that standard of that good person that his mom talked about early in his life. And what that good person looks like to him may not necessarily be the person that the world wants him to be, but it is at its core who he thinks a good person is. And I really was able to connect that into every aspect of his life, from him running on the local level to becoming a state senator to even becoming president. Him really trying to see, okay, how can I do the most good and still live up to the responsibilities that I have? And so I thought that was a very good aspect of the book. And I think, whether it is just someone talking about themselves, but he really made himself seem like someone that was really trying to do good, even if it didn't look like that to other people. I'm sure other presidential memoirs will probably take on the same type of tone. I don't know, because this is the only one that I've ever read. Maybe I'll read another presidential memoir to see how similar it may be, but I don't think anyone else could write or create a book as good as this one. I'm just putting that out there now. If you've read others, let me know what you think in comparison. And in the same chapter, he does talk about the fact that it seemed, despite the great notions that his mom instilled in him, it seemed that those that cheated, lied, and stole were still thriving in society. And so people that were doing what most would consider to be evil were being very successful. And so that is something else he would struggle with as he decides to climb the ladder in his own ways or make a difference in the world in his very own way. This next segment that we're going to be talking about is how much does race actually matters. And this is still in the first chapter of the book. He says, "Certainly that was true when it came to questions of race. I experienced my fair share of racial slight and could see all too well the enduring legacy of slavery and Jim Crow anytime I walked through Harlem or parts of the Bronx. But by dint of biography, I learned not to claim my own victimhood too readily and resisted the notion held by some of the black folks I knew that white people were irredeemably racist." The conviction that racism wasn't inevitable may also explain my willingness to defend the American idea, what the country was and what it could be. So it is very clear that Barack was very cognizant and has always been very cognizant, just like I am very cognizant that I am a black man. He was always very cognizant of his biracial heritage, and that's something that really stand out to me in the book. A lot of times when I personally think about Barack Obama, I do not necessarily think about the fact that half of his family was white as they come, and that's not to be a negative thing, or that's not to have any negative connotation associated to it, but that's just an aspect of his reality that he had to deal with every day that I don't really pay much attention to when I think about Barack as a person. And I say that to say this idea of our own victimhood. Before going into this idea of, I guess, his own victimhood, or not thinking too highly about that, and some may even say not factor in race as much as a lot of black people may do, he talked about the fact that he just had this burning desire to prove himself, and in doing that work himself to exhaustion. And this didn't just get him into Harvard, and it didn't end after he got into Harvard, but it's something that his wife Michelle noticed. He talks about it in terms of, I would say, almost a burden to prove himself that would allow him to work himself to exhaustion even during his presidency. He also talks about, if he can talk to his younger self, he would say, "Hey Barry, calm down a little, you don't have to go so hard." But that is one interesting thing that I do see with a lot of people that are successful. They all, before becoming successful, were in a place where they just felt like they had to outwork anyone that was around them. And I see this in Barack in this segment of the book, and I see this in a lot of the success books that I read. This almost dangerous desire to be successful and succeed. And we will see in the rest of the book that at very times, and I think it was downplayed in this book, but it could have been a source of such huge tension in their marriage that Michelle may have left them if she wasn't the type of woman that she was. And now I'm putting words in both Michelle and Barack's mouth, but I think his drive to succeed and attain what he desired to be success was there. I do think it was downplayed in the book a little, but I think that little chapter gives us a taste of it. Here's exactly what he says. I'm going to turn to the book. He says, "I took it upon myself to purge such softness with a regimen of self-improvement that I have never entirely shed. Michelle and the girls point out that to this day I can't get into a pool or the ocean without feeling compelled to swim laps." This was his attempt to softly say that he had a burning desire, not just during his presidency, not just as a senator, not just as a congressman, I believe he was before that, but he had this desire to prove himself that would force him to work beyond what normal people would think is reasonable. And we do see this in a lot of successful people. And so to the point, how much does race matter? For him as a biracial person, yes, he's black, but he is also biracial, and he's very clear about that heritage. For him as a biracial person, I do believe he probably felt the fact that he did not overplay his blackness to be somewhat attributed to his success in terms of not focusing on the obstacle that is against him. Now, I would say that those are very murky grounds to walk in the black community. I've always been someone that said, I will not make any excuses for my lack of success in life. And so if I'm unable to attain whatever I desire, it would not be because of systemic racism. It would not be because someone has their foot on my neck. And it is not to deny those things, but it's to not use those things as an excuse for myself. And I do think as a group and a community of black people in totality, now we know for a fact that those things play into our ability to advance as a community. But as an individual, I can take it upon myself to say there is no excuses for me. And some people may be offended like that, the same way I think some people will be offended by Barack's comment of there is no excuse. If I'm not able to do the things that I want to do, then it's on me. And if you feel that means that if you're not able to do the things that you desire to do, it's on you, then hey, so be it. Another part of the books that I thought was very interesting was Barack talking about the various type of sacrifices that he would have to make to pursue his dream. And one of the first type of sacrifices that I think he had to make was the friction that his desire to become a senator and then a president caused within his marriage. And I know a lot of people would say, Barack wanting to be a senator cause friction in their marriage? Who would not want their husband to become a senator? Or Barack wanting to be president will cause friction in their marriage? Who would not want their partner to become president of the United States? But the fact of the matter, as you read the story in the book, running for office is very costly. I read the book a few weeks ago, so maybe I may get this wrong, but I believe Barack Obama lost when he ran for the congressional seat before he ran for the Senate seat. And that caused a financial toll on the family. For him to run as a senator and have no conflict of interest, he would have to leave his position at the law firm. And that would mean they would have less money to pay for their student loans. Yes, they had a ton of student loans, less money to pay for childcare, daycare, and every other expense that comes with running a household. And so this was taking a toll on Michelle. And so she was not happy when he was running for senator, and she was even less happy when he came to ask her to run for president. She actually told him no at first when he asked to run for president. It's like, Barack, this is going to destroy us, pretty much. And I say all that to say that you really have to believe in yourself in the end of the day. And we know from Barack's book to Michelle's book that Michelle has always been an amazing wife. And this says nothing about the caliber of wife that she was, that she didn't want better for her family. And on top of that, while the average person may see the presidency as a luxurious job, being a senator as a luxurious job, those type of positions take away a lot of time that you will naturally spend with your family. And so for me personally, I think some of the prime years for children is between 7 and 16. This is time of their life where they may actually remember, and time of their life they may want to spend with their parents. Because after 16, you don't know. I mean, maybe even before that now, probably after 14, children no longer want to spend time with their parents. And Michelle was very aware with this. For Barack to become a senator, for Barack to become a president even, that will mean that he won't have a lot of time for his family. That means he won't have a lot of time for her. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they would have a happy relationship. And so while from the outside looking in, it looks like beautiful things. Oh, you're a congressperson now, you're a senator now, you're even the president now. But all of that can take a huge toll on a family, and we see that in the book. The last point that I want to make on this book, and I think is one of Barack Obama's agenda for the book, is the polarization in our politics. And so the book is framed in a way where he said, I am trying to run as a centrist candidate. So I am trying to run down the middle, steal away some votes from the Republicans, steal away some votes from the Democrat. And I really want to work with the Republican Party to show that you don't have to run politics from polarizing sides. I think by the end of the book, he still aspired to that ideal, but he was like, it is just too hard in this country to try to run politics the way that it should be. He pretty much said a lot of politicians don't even believe some of the things that they say. They just know what their base want to hear, and they have to parrot that if they want to win the election, especially as we enter into more polarizing time. And the more polarizing the time is, the more that deals will have to be made under the table, because no one wants to come to the table to make deals above it, because people are going to be mad when politicians aren't 100% pushing the agenda that they want to push. And for me personally, that is a dangerous place to be. Even on YouTube, most YouTubers, unless you have a politically focused YouTube or you are picking a side, you usually try to stay out of politics, because the only people that really benefit from political discussion a lot of times is those that choose to be polarizing. So if I'm going far right, I can be very successful doing that. If I'm going far left, I can be very successful doing that. But if you're trying to talk about this better America, that America, the American dream still lives and thrives, and you're not going to each side. No, no, no. You are going to bring some hate and scrutiny upon yourself. And that's what Barack had to face. Now, me personally, I've always liked the idea of being able to say what I want. And so if that means those that are super radical to the left don't agree, or super radical to the right that don't agree, or those that are in the center don't agree, I personally don't care. I will continue to speak my truth. No, you may not agree. No, it may not align with your particular politics. At the end of the day, I need to do what I think is right. And I think that's how Barack concluded the book. Everything that he tried to do, he tried to make sure it was the best decision. And that's all we can do. It is very clear in the book that that is not how politics play. People make not the best decision, but the decision that is the most politically sound. And that is a dangerous society we're creating. All right, family, I have been all over the place with this book, but I truly enjoyed the book. There's a lot of more political things that Barack talks about in the book that I'm not going to talk about now. But I thought this book was really good and it was well worth the read. So feel free to check it out. I'm sure I'll put a link to it in the description. If you haven't already, go ahead and smash the like button, subscribe to the page, and hit the bell to be notified of when I post something new. And like I always say, even in the midst of these crazy times, God bless you and make sure you're living your best life.